a father, a mother, and a young child. The image of their clothing survived, the silk survived, and the lace survived. But we no longer know their names, and we no longer know their stories. We as humans love stories, because stories tell us stuff about who we were long ago and who we are today. Welcome to Haarlem. This is a story from this Dutch city. Today, Haarlem is a vibrant, historic city that is often overlooked by visitors who favour going to Amsterdam, which is actually only a 19-minute train ride away. But in the 1600s, Haarlem was actually one of the richest cities in the Dutch Golden Age. Rich people flocked to Haarlem, often to escape the Amsterdam stench. See, rich Amsterdam merchants used to love building their fancy houses on the capital's famous canals. But those canals were not only used for transport, they were also used as raw sewage disposal. And so, in summer, when the water was low and the sun was beating down, and the combination of narrow, barely moving canals which accumulated filth made the city reek to high heaven. Haarlem did not have this problem. For one, the city is split in two by a massive waterway, the River Sparne. And the city was known for brewing beer, so it had strict laws upheld by the Brewers Guild, because clean water was essential to that industry. Now, Haarlem has many stories. True stories of Kenau and Ripperda standing up against the Spanish invaders, and also less true stories. Like how for a long time in Haarlem history, the city really tried to push the narrative that its inhabitant Laurens Janszoon Koster invented the printing press. Suck on that, Gutenberg. There is also the story of the city's famous executioner, who was such a big shot. Cities like Amsterdam would rent him for the day to chop people's heads off. Another thing Haarlem was famous for was its bleached linen. The nearby dunes provided the city with enough clean water that a bit of sunshine was enough to bleach even the roughest linens into beautiful white fabric. Grey linens from all over Northern Europe were sent to Haarlem to get bleached. Now, for our story today, what do you do when you are a rich family in the Dutch Golden Age, living in Haarlem, a city with many other rich families? Well, you have your portrait painted, of course. In those days, you can just take a photo, launch a LinkedIn profile or Facebook page. If you wanted to show just how insanely and fabulously well-to-do you were, you needed a portrait. And so we find ourselves in the Janstraat in Haarlem, because this is the street where many rich Haarlemmers lived, but also famous Dutch master Johannes Cornelisz Verspronck. Verspronck painted mostly portraits, and these days his paintings can be found all over the world. Now, Verspronck didn't do any self-portraits, unfortunately, but I assume he looked a bit like these dudes, because that seems to be what men in that time looked like. Verspronck was about 20 years younger than famous Haarlemmer Frans Hals. Frans Hals, together with Rembrandt van Rijn and Johannes Vermeer, are regarded the three most important painters of the Golden Age. Hals is actually buried in the Bavo Church on the Market Square, underneath the choir. Anyway, so Verspronck is about 20 years younger than Frans Hals. Hals is already pretty established, so it's reasonable to think that Verspronck frequented Hals's workshop. Maybe they worked together, maybe he learned from him, but is at the very least heavily influenced by Frans Hals, especially in the beginning of his career. Later on, he develops his own style. Verspronck mainly paints very wealthy families, including this small family that we are going to discuss today. Now, these 3 pictures are of a father, a mother and a young daughter. And we know that Verspronck painted them in 1640 and 1641. We unfortunately don't know who these people are. It's a real-life mystery. Art historians have looked into this extensively, going through city files, invoices, tax returns, church documents, but they just can't seem to pinpoint who it is that we see on these paintings. These paintings normally aren't even displayed together. The daughter in the blue dress is part of the collection of the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. The portraits of the parents have, through the ages, ended up in the collection of the Rijksmuseum in Twente. But the Frans Hals Museum in Haarlem has brought them together temporarily for the first time since 1979, when that museum had brought them together for a different exhibit. I think they're probably quite happy to see each other again after spending almost 50 years apart. In those days, it would have been normal to have more than one child. There were no contraceptives available. The church definitely encouraged people to reproduce to the fullest degree. So it is possible that there are more children and more paintings. But because of the way the parents are situated and how the girl is smack in the middle of her portrait, experts believe this was just a small family of 3. These paintings have also shown up in art documentation since the 1800s as a set of 3. And we know of no other child portraits by Verspronck that would fit into this set. It is so interesting what we can deduce by looking at these paintings closely. Especially the girl in the blue dress. She has such an open look, obviously still very young, rosy cheeks, definitely not shy though. A beautiful blue silk dress for which Verspronck uses indigo pigment, a colour also used in the Haarlem textile industry. The dress has lots of gold thread, she's wearing lots of pearls and white lace. Very grown-up jewellery for a young child. But in those days it was quite normal to treat children as small-sized adults. In her hand we see an ostrich feather used as a fan, which I don't know if you know much about the Netherlands, but we do not have many ostriches here. Definitely not in the 1600s. These would have been imported from Africa. The mother is holding a similar ostrich fan and wears similar pearl jewellery. The lace trim in the girl's dress was very modern for that era. She, or her mother, was obviously very fashion forward. Fashion forward in an age where everything was handmade. Every stitch, every seam, every textile, all of it was thoughtfully crafted and put together by hand. These portraits are not just about a family wanting to show off their wealth. It gives us insight into crafting, sewing, stitching, laundering, starching, and care. Wealthy clothing required teams of invisible workers. Manual labor industries that no longer exist today as they did in those days. For me, as a crafter and a knitter, it shows how important it is to uphold the handcrafts we do, even if it's a hobby, and keep them alive for the coming generations, especially in an age where everything is seemingly created on a computer with the press of a button. The care and beauty of things created by human hands. Going back to the set of 3 paintings, the child obviously has the same features as her mother, but definitely has the eyes of her father. These people belong together and are now, for a brief moment in history, reunited once again. One day in 1640, this family decided it was time to be permanently captured on canvas. Perhaps something good happened. Marriage, a large inheritance, a new level of prosperity. Perhaps something sorrowful happened. A, for that time, oddly small-sized family One can only guess if there were more children whose lives got cut short. We don't know. They wanted to be captured in time forever. However, we no longer know their names, and we no longer know their stories. But their images survived, and the image of their clothing has survived. The traces of handmade labour survived. Maybe that is enough. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are interested in seeing the girl in the blue dress together with her parents, she will be receiving visitors at the Frans Hals Museum in Haarlem until October 11th, 2026.